Squiggle has now shown that he's entirely capable of Jax also, and maybe they respect it enough. But with all the priority that Hellions have on taking Shen away from him, I don't think it's actually worth banning the Jax.
That's a great point. Last time they did use quite a few bans onto Rai. The Diana, the Twisted Fate fell onto him. So maybe this time mix it up, realize that Squiggle can carry and has the potential to. Should he get his hands on Jax, I'm sure quite proficient on the Trundle and Aurelia to boot.
It just comes down to Hellions needing to have an early game if Sin are going to pick scaling champions, and that's something that just didn't happen.
Well, there's a respect ban to the Jax. We're not going to be seeing the Grand Master at Arms bonking people in the top lane anymore.
Absolutely right. So Jax taken off the board. Ryu is not exactly the Jax player. He likes to be more of the mage top laner, like the Rise that sticks out to me. As what we're seeing right now, and this is funny, is I don't know if Sin want to actually play the Swains, the Vladimirs, and the Rises.
Sure.
Given Rymeister's tendencies to Assassins and Squiggles, either Aurelia, Jax, or tank tendencies also, so their solo lanes may not want them. Hellions do, and whilst they're on red side of the map, we're still seeing blue side Vladimir bans as an indication of that, which, funnily enough, means that you can target ban on red side still.
That's a great point here. They're doing just that. Diana will be the next ban to follow coming out of the Hellions. Don't want Rai getting his hands on that, as we've seen in previous weeks, just how well he can do.
Which means the next ban you would assume from Hellions is Twisted Fate.
Sure.
Of course, with Sin to do theirs first, you'd expect something standard.
The Azir doesn't get much more standard than that. Don't want Bomb getting even the slightest hint of Shurima in his playstyle tonight. We saw Azir go off. We saw Azir fall short. Not going to see him here, though.
Yeah, so he's going to be taken off the board here away from Bomb, who honestly will just default to something like that Victor anyway. He's got a good Anivia in his back pocket also, Bomb, but he's entirely a lane-focused player, and that's where this unusual mismatch actually comes out between Sin and Hellions. Is Bomb just likes to stay mid. Rymeister does the exact opposite.
They really don't want Squiggle getting this Shen, first picking it last game, banning it away this game, so must be quite a vicious Shen player, and it's a shame we don't get to see it. There is the Rise, though. Mentioned leaving that up. That's what happens when you target ban away champions. You leave just the kind of generic good champions available, and Rise is in a great spot right now.
Yeah, it is, and of course, Hellions to respond. I would not be shocked knowing that it's a that it's a Rise mid to see potentially Twisted Fate on the other side for Bomb. Of course, not in the first rotation. They're on red side. So it'd be a very interesting draft, actually, from Hellions. And this is a battle of taking from the other, right? So Rise, I still don't know if it's something that Sin want to play, whether they can or not. But you can't give it to Ryu or Bomb.
That's a great point. And we saw that last game with the Shen takeaway. Didn't work out for them, so hopefully Sin know what they're doing here. First picking that Rise, but Hellions, they go for the Aurelia and the Sivir. We've seen Aurelia work great throughout the night, and Sivir, a little bit of hit and miss here, but we know what the champion's capable of, and in the right hands what she can achieve. So it's going to be up to Sim to kind of understand what Hellions are doing. Sivir doesn't give away too much, but you know they're going to be coming at you very, very fast.
Well, they've already got the carry top laner, so that much is established, and Sin can choose to either fight him with the likes of a Trundle, or walk it out and maybe just play a tank and look towards being elsewhere on the map. What I would say is that Karma in this rotation would make a lot of sense if they opt towards that one, something to keep your team alive. And then whatever role they would prefer to pick, which, knowing Sin, usually indicates the bottom lane here with their jungler.
Sure. Looks like they will be going for the Rek'Sai and the Lucian. So once again, Lucian still popping up here and there around the bot lane. I think everyone just spent so much time playing this guy that is so good at him, so proficient at utilizing that champion to his maximum abilities here. So Rap's going to be getting himself that one. Juves gets himself the Rek'Sai as well, who I thought we would be seeing a lot more first picks.
And don't forget Rap's very strong mechanical player, so picking the Lucian does feel comfortable for him. And yes, Rek'Sai, lower than anticipated priority, yet still a good champion in its own right. Of course, it feels like the Hellions have a different strategy in mind. Sin, almost a little bit too Rek'Sai reliant because they want to have that carry, or tank, sorry, in the jungle and the carries in their solo lanes. Interesting to see where they go from this, because they did give over Sivir Karma with a Hecarim.
The Hellions are all in on movement speed right now. This is going to be crazy, and they have a Ghost on their mid laner at the moment. Of course, that's open to change, but just so much MS speed on one team. But of course, then they answer that with, I love seeing Rogue's Thresh. and a Gragas.
Yeah, top lane Gragas.
There we go. So it will be Rye on the rise in the mid laner. Very interesting.
Yeah, super curious to see how this goes. Of course, super tank top laner Squiggle on that Gragas can actually diffuse a lot of what Ryu has to offer. Not that it's easy to hit the Gragas R. I think that explosive cask is actually quite challenging, honestly, against Aurelia's mobility, but you can still body slam if she Qs at you. You can diffuse a lot of bad situations. You have a lot of great sustain also with that passive that Gragas has. And yes, we do get to see Rogue on his best champion by far. Same with Juice, and even like the Lucian for Raps. I think Sinner's still quite comfortable with their comp.
They've drafted themselves very well in this game, and it is always a pleasure to watch players on their most comfortable champions. And Swain, he was left available in Hellions. They're going to be locking that one in for Bomb. Another champion that does utilize movement speed very well. Keeps himself in the fight. That Ravenous Flock heals him up.
Between Ryze and Swain, both champions are quite strong, decent scaling as well from that Swain. Nothing matches a Ryze in terms of scaling, but your one item spike is still quite severe. This Swain will be doing a lot of work. We are watching, honestly, a very good team composition out of Hellions.
Yeah.
They have a lot of mixed damage, they have a lot of backline threat, they've got the tank line. Their engage is slightly more telegraphed and potentially flank reliant out of Ryu and Impaired. But I think they can just like kind of press the go button, that Karma Siva, just run Impaired at them. And Bomb's going to be a super damage dealer tank anyway. Sinner, not as telegraphed in their style. They have a little bit more variability in the way they want to play around the Rift. Of course, essentially 3 teleports on Summoner's Rift available to them between the Ryze, Gragas, and the Rek'Sai. And they could continue that 1-3-1 style that Sin loves so dearly.
It was a great game last game. It did take a little bit to get off, but when it exploded, Sin showed us just what they were working towards the entire game. So if you liked what you saw in game number 1 coming out of Sin, hashtag Sin win. Or if you want to see Hellions with this movement speed comp, take it to game 3, hashtag HLN win. Get your votes in and show your support, show your love for these teams because they need it.
Absolutely right. Sin, 1 week away from running the ultimate gauntlet for the rest of the OPL split. Hellions on the flip side, actually just needing to find their first victory of the OPL. So bouncing back here against Sin, one of the better opportunities for this team to find a W on the board.
Alrighty guys, we are into game number 2. Sin currently sit 1 game ahead, but Hellions, they've drafted themselves a very strong team composition. So they have the ability to take it to game number 3, but do they have the execution, Rusty?
Yeah, and that's the big question. Of course, Hellions need to have a very strong early laning phase once again. Something that was slow-paced in game number 1. But Ryu, Bomb, Impaired, all of these champions spike with 1 big item. So if they can control the laning phase, get to that first big item, they can look towards some early team fights, skirmishes, and movements around the map. And if there's one thing that these teams can do, Hellions in particular, they can move around the map.
That Hecarim skin is very good. I like that one. Haven't actually seen it in game before, so first time seeing that. Yeah, I like the little effects of the leaves coming off at the end. But of course, on the side of Hellions, they have 2 teleports again, so a lot of map control. This time Sin answers that as well. So
have you ever heard the saying with Gragas as well, in terms of skins? The Scuba Gragas is what all the pros play.
Yeah, I think you told me a few weeks ago
about that. You win more with Scuba Gragas.
Well, Squiggle, he's got himself that Scuba Gragas, playing him in the top lane, so not going to be a farm-starved jungler, but good wards. Detect the invade coming through Hellions, and no damage dealt. A win for Sin.
Good wards to detect it, and also very well done from Luna to double-check and make sure that the wolves weren't going to be taken as they get the full push out of the jungle. Rogue's going to be late, but he can still watch them doing the wolves and potentially push them away from at least one camp. Just means a small advantage for Hellions, who initiate the swap, actually get the first buff as well.
A very threatening Thresh this early on, and looks like Luna's actually made his way over to the mid lane. Going to be backing off now.
He's hanging out.
Yeah, just hope to maybe get a Q in, do a little bit of damage, and give his lane any small advantage.
Actually way too early to do that, to be fair, as well, because he was on top of wards that were placed at level 1.
Fair enough.
I want to slow that one down by 10 to 15 seconds in future.
Looks like we will be seeing pretty standard stuff here out of Hellions and Sin. The 3v0, maybe a 4v0 eventually, should the junglers decide that giving up their jungle time is worth it to them.
Yeah, depending on what their goals are, naturally. I think Hellions this time around, and one of the cool things about lane swaps is you get the first turret, you switch to the bottom side of the map, and then you can actually look towards picking up the Drake. But however, it's a Mountain Drake this time around, and it means he is one of the more sturdy and durable of the dragons, albeit a slow attacking dragon. It just actually takes too long to kill him. And so what you would expect is that when they come back towards this bottom side of the map, if they want the dragon, Impaired should help them take the turret so that it's quicker. And then by taking it quicker, it gives you enough time to look towards the dragon. Otherwise, it's just not worth the investment.
Pretty standard stuff here. Towers should be going down relatively the same time. One thing to note is if Impaired takes away this blue buff, he will have 3 buffed for Juve. So small advantages here and there. Ryu going to be getting that local gold. Same with Squiggle once Raps backs off after that one. They want to ensure that the tower does actually fall and get the wave in a nice manipulable spot.
Of course, I don't actually think that Rek'Sai is too phased by having a blue buff taken if she does not utilize that at all. As long as she can get small camps, then the Rek'Sai will be fine.
Only really needing that red buff. A little bit of damage down onto Rai. Does have that teleport available, and of course Rise wants to go back and get his tier as early as possible to start stacking that one up. So Dom doing a good job of utilizing Swain to his ability, being able to just chuck on that corruption, get a few auto attacks as well.
Yeah,
Rai does have the lane in a good spot as well.
Reasonably effective lane swap here for both of these teams. Of course, you're seeing the AD carry and support duo of Sin doing something very unusual. They want standard lanes, it seems, and look for a gank beforehand.
Sure.
And whilst Ryu has a nice freeze, he's going to find himself decently far ahead with experience, if nothing else, because Squiggle doesn't want to teleport to that lane to even keep himself in it.
That's a great point here, as we do see standard lanes are now in effect, so it won't be the reverse lane swap, everyone just doing a 4v0 once again. Raps and Rogue do have a tower to protect now. Getting a few minions. Big minion wave spawning, so shouldn't have too much difficulty taking away some of these.
He ruined it for himself almost there. They did well, actually, to get most of those. Of course, queuing that wave Raps actually caused problems. Impaired's top, so's Juve's.
Like-minded jungler, Squiggle does get stunned up here. He's in a lot of trouble. The flash from Squiggle keeping himself safe. Juve's with a nice double knock-up, but Impaired's level 5 right now.
And really good game sense, actually, from Juve's to be there at all, because Squiggle was far too overextended. We said he didn't use his teleport, and that might come in handy if he chooses to use it again. But at this point, behind in farm, behind in experience, behind in pretty much everything on Summoner's Rift. And yeah, that level 5 spike from Impaired's pretty significant.
That's exactly right here, as Rai does get hit up by the Nether Move Bomb. Not level 6 yet, so doesn't have that sustained damage the Ravenous Flock gives him.
To be fair, the same thing goes for Rymeister. Not level 6, so the wave clear and reliable trading isn't going to be there just yet. As that's more than once now that we've actually seen Bomb force Rymeister to base. And yet, Rymeister is ahead.
No teleport this time, though. He could potentially miss out on a big minion wave once Bomb pushes this one up. No one there to actually salvage that.
Needs help.
He desperately does.
He should have teleported straight up to that wave initially and maybe had Juves rotate earlier. They had to overpush it to the turret, perhaps prevent a freeze from occurring. But now they've just set Ryu up so nicely. He is really far ahead in this matchup.
We've seen what an Aurelia can do when she gets even the smallest of advantages, can just run away with that and proceed to roll over the entire game. So, like you said, Squiggle needs help, man. Someone get up there and hopefully not let this Gragas tank the win rate on Scuba Graggy.
Yeah, he better not. Watch it. He's a top lane Gragas. I guess I don't have to count. But either way.
It's a mid lane Gragas, it was, the AP.
Yeah, but either way, like, I'm still looking at this Gragas and saying that he's going to do his part. He's going to be relevant. Right now, there is 3 people up here.
Right, you're going to be face-checking that one. The hook goes through and a teleport as well. Stacking the CC nicely. A good knock-up. Now Rai in a world of hurt. They want to give this one over to Squiggle, but first blood goes to Rogue.
Rogue, I believe the Ignite actually locks it down. So unfortunate because they wanted to give it to Squiggle. That would have helped him out a lot in terms of gold. But either way, they accelerate this now. They've got a big wave I actually would recommend that they 4-man over push this, but they're not going to. They want a jungle control. And Impaired's now helping on this bottom side.
Impaired on the right side of the map to ensure that they can get these turrets at around the same time. Minion waves now coming in, giving both teams reinforcements. Now Rai has hit level 6, so the wave clear is there for both of these mid laners. And
They want Ryu again. Machine Gun Rai as well now, wave clearing in that middle lane. We'll see how they play this one out. Remember the Raptor sensors if Juves is burrowed. Can spot him out. There it is.
a good ward. Hook does go wide. Was aiming for the tower. It'll be a sort refuge there in the mid lane of these guys just trading damage, but Rymeister going to be running low on mana soon while Bomb sitting on quite a respectable amount. Luna comes top to ensure that Ray doesn't get dived once again.
Yeah, so they hold the fort here. Hellions, they have Luna actually rotate towards top side. It is a Sivir by herself at the bottom of the map though, which means there's no turret pushing, and Frey ideally can actually just break this from being frozen. I think Rymeister might get there. He's actually changed his mind.
Yeah.
No longer going bottom.
Just teleports up to the mid lane here. So should be... Frey's going to be backing off out of that one, and despite all the resources spent to try and get Squiggle back in, he didn't get any of that farm. It all went to Rap, so it was more or less to try and stop Ryu. But not working out so well.
That's triple his CS right now, and if something could be coined as a disaster, it would be this for the Gragas. Squiggle, after a convincing game one, gets put on a tank. Yeah, and now can no longer do anything. And Summoner's Rift, what an unfortunate position to be in.
That's right, this way.
Bomb. That was so inefficient.
Just using everything
That
and the
wasn't
kitchen sink to get a few minions here.
He got one. That wasn't even last hitting. That was just pouring everything down.
Should be getting himself the blue buff now, allowing him to take some favorable trades and heal, or unfavorable trades rather than heal himself back up to full. Such is the beauty of Swain.
And this is actually, like, mechanically is fine, this lane swap, but decision-making wise, this is a very messy position. Both of these teams. They've now assigned Ryu, who has enough items potentially into Raps, but Raps is monstrous. They haven't looked towards any Mountain Drakes or just Drakes in general. And Hellion's sole purpose in this game seems to be to keep Squiggle down. But he's already down. There's no point in kicking the man who's already dead.
Finally, we see him going for some minions, but the second he goes for that, there is the Karma Shield to speed them up and push him back. But now he finally gets some alone time with that top lane, and already.
And now they're sharing farm between carries in the middle lane. Like, I'm just generally confused by this lane swap's execution as a whole. I might have teleported earlier to get mid lane instead of maybe saving it and going bottom, instead of getting an early rotation around the map and controlling two freezes. They just make mistake after mistake. Now we're just A-ramming.
Definitely not ideal for both teams here, but finally Squiggle is able to get himself some alone time with the top lane. Ryu doing the same, but I'm going to tell you, Rusty, I'm a lot more scared of a Fed Aurelia than a Fed Gragas.
There's a joke somewhere there, but yeah, absolutely. I think that Aurelia snowballs pretty severely, and if you're Lucian, shaking in your boots.
4 people for Hellions are now mid. You just catch the wave, I guess. Share the experience, share the gold, share the love.
It's like a Black Eyed Peas song right now. They'd be proud. Really still freezing though. Like honestly, this is hitting like the same kind of item thresholds as last game did, but it's going to happen more severely and quicker. Because Trinity Force, Rod of Ages, big spikes for each respective team, but most importantly for Hellions.
Looked like Impaired either wanted to maybe sneak the dragon, steals that away,
Wrecked.
Sneak the dragon away, or maybe go for the crab, but it was taken. He initially just backs off out of that one, as we saw poor Squiggle. He's getting absolutely no love, no lantern at all.
Yep, no love for him. Poor Gragas is just left to his own devices. What's that? You need help in a 1v4 top lane? You wave clear. You'll be fine, you're Gragas.
Yes.
It's not fine though. The Gragas is having a bad time.
He's having the worst time tonight, Rusty. Coming off such a high from that Jax game as well to now, must be very jarring for him.
Yep, this is, look, this game is very unusual. Of course, we are still waiting for big breakpoints again before we actually see things breaking out. Finally though, teams are looking towards this Drake. Hellions want to fight this.
Ekram is there, but he is fast. Rymeister does match a teleport coming through for Rai. Where are they looking to focus their attention? Frey up in the front line. The explosive cast, it's forced Ekram to the back. He's going to go down. Rymeister picks up that one, but now Sinner in retreat. Bomb, he's running low on mana. No more ultimate available for him, but they're still retreating. Frey's full health. Ryu is full health.
No turret.
He's coming in. He looks for it. Rymeister, he
God.
gets the shield proc. Squiggle gets the kill, and now it's Hellions who have to turn tail and run.
They have no mana on bomb. They do have Frey and Luna, who have a lot of mobility for the team, so they won't get them. But Sin, they just demolished Ryu. He looked towards it, and he thought, oh, that looks great. So it didn't look great.
No, it went in for Rymeister, who was able to get the passive shield proc that kept him alive just long enough for the CC to come flying in hard and fast.
They want
but
more.
It's back. The fight is starting again. Here comes the teleport for Bomb, but he's an old man with a walking cane.
Yeah, but the teleport's enough to deter them, so the Drake will be taken by Hellions as an end result. However, 3 kills at the moment for Sin means that they have a gold lead, if nothing else. This is a point where they can actually, I was going to say, potentially utilize that Sin have had to late recall because they looked for that Drake. But teleports are enough to save them here.
Yep, Rymeister teleporting back to the mid lane to ensure that Hellions can't get more than that. Still have about 1,000 gold lead in the pockets of Sin, attributed to those 3 kills, despite, of course, Squiggle being down and out. Did actually pick himself up a kill and 2 assists, so it's not the end of the world for this Gragas.
No, he's actually fine now that they've actually had a fight and he ended up with kills in it. It's a Sunfire Cape completed, so he's reasonably good. He's well off in comparison to Ryu, who has a lot of CS, has had a couple of freezes. There's only 20 CS actually separating them, and still a big item threshold to be broken. Hellions top laner. There's 3 people just decided they wanted to farm top lane.
That's it. As we see this, Rift Herald has been started for Sin Gaming. Actually bringing everyone over to get this one. Make sure that no one from Hellions even looks at it wrong.
League of Legends is a family affair.
Literally all 5 people have had some effect, but there is a Lantern in. They don't want to do it. They want to finish off the Rift Herald, but they got their sight set on Impaired. He has his ultimate, so he should be fine. No, he saves it for too long. Gets taken down by the Rune Prison, and Rogue cleans that one up.
Squiggle's just wondering where his team went because the Lantern took one of them to only. Of course, really nice hook from Rogue. He just does not miss these hooks. More often than not he hits. The follow-up from Squiggle, from Juves as well as the Lantern to get wraps over is there. And Sid now put themselves 4-0 up with a Rift Herald, so they make an effective trade of objectives. And now Rymeister actually finds a lot of farm in side lanes that I think he'll get eventually. After stealing that from your jungler.
These Sin guys, they don't like to share, do they?
Well, they're sharing, but Rymeister gets it all.
Yeah. The experience, they didn't get experience off that anymore.
Well, you don't, yeah. No, they're sharing damage loads. That's what they're doing.
Well, it looks like Ray has completed his Trinity Force, so Aurelia feeling a little bit better now after those last fight didn't really go their way. Bomb still stacking up on that Rod of Ages. Just a little bit ahead of Rymeister at the moment, but he does have the tier on the side of that Rise of Impaired. Saved his ultimate, but with no flash can't close the wall.
Oh, they might actually have bomb here. There's 3 of them.
In trouble with only a flash to get into safety. Has to use it. Gets out alive.
Yeah, and Squiggle also flashing on the flip side. He's about to get the most profitable pink ward in history, but doesn't actually save the fact that he did have to flash away. Bomb flashing in response means essentially traded summoner spells.
Sure.
No avail for either of these teams as Rogue.
Rogue looking to make a play, just finds it. Magnetic hook onto Bomb, who does have the ultimate, but there is an ignite effect ticking thanks to Rogue. Now Impaired, forced to run. Luna speeds them up, and god damn it, Rogue.
Yeah, it's goddamn it, Rogue. Rogue's great on this Thresh. We said it during Champion Selectors, probably his best champion because he just very rarely actually misses the execution. Gives the Lantern to Rymeister at the exact same time as connecting that hook. And you can kill Bomb and burst him out before he can even press his R key. Well, it goes a long way towards your team starting a snowball on this game. And it feels like they've really got a grasp on it now, Sin. Upping that tempo.
Moving in, does smite it away, gets procced immediately though. Pink ward in the bush. 17 minutes in the game. And Sin much further ahead than they were last time around this same minute mark. 3,000, 4,000 gold actually. 5 kills to 0, a tower up. Mountain Dragon did go to Hellions, so should they get some alone time with the turret, they will take it just a little bit faster.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, objective control is something that Hellions team composition, I'd say, actually struggles to do. They have a decent dive composition. They have really good disengage and pick, but I think it's quite vision reliant from the side of Hellions. If you don't have flank wards to teleport to, or you just don't have a flank for the Hecarim perhaps, then to actually win a team fight, you'd struggle because Sin are more catered towards just standing and delivering all of that damage. Ryze actually just wants to stand still and hit you with all of his spells.
Ooh. Not going to matter though, even if the hook misses, Luna in a world of trouble. Even with the flash, everyone comes in and delivers another kill over to Sin.
Yeah, another big pick, and that's just the damage that a Ryze, I almost said a Rymeister can put out. I feel like they're one in the same, I guess, at this point.
At the moment.
Of course, 2-0-3 putting in work. All of Sin, again, we said upping that tempo. Well, that's what they're doing. And with that tempo comes pressure. Into the back foot, Hellions now go.
Looks like Squiggle, he's got himself set up a nice big wave pushing in the bot lane. And where are Sin members? On the same side of the map. Their vision control is there to boot. So
yeah, no, that is a lot of vision control actually established by Sin. Ideally right now they hit a thresh hook and dive. They've got a Gragas ultimate to follow it up as well if it comes to that. But this is just pressure for the turret.
They do have the Sivir, one of the best at clearing those out. The hook goes down, not the target they want. So they just choose for damage. A little bit of chip here and there. Yeah. Good job by Hellion, depleting the wave very quickly.
Yeah, and Paired quite tanky, so killing him is a difficult task. Of course, Ryu actually wants to sit in the side lane, so the less that he has to teleport in, the better for the moment. And the more that Ryu gets the 1v1, the better off he will be feeling also. So that is quite a big lead for the Aurelia. Actually quite substantial.
Yeah, about 50, 60 CS up at the moment as it will be Rymeister now who goes up to the top lane to get this wave as it crashes into the tower.
Rymeister actually has his 2 big items completed, and what was a tanky Swain, I think he may have to put that on the back burner and try again in a few minutes when he has an item perhaps in response, but looks like he's changing his item build to what seems almost like a Morello's here bomb, and that's because we're just lacking ignites generally on the teams.
Makes a lot of sense here as Sin start up his Ocean Drake. No one from Hellions into position to contest this one. They've been forced back to their second quarter by the look of it.
And the next one's a Mountain Drake, so Hellions would definitely look towards that. But losing control and ceding more and more advantage on this map towards the side of Sin could ultimately just mean that they have to give objectives up from here on out. Looking towards a fight sooner rather than later is the goal for Sin. Sorry, for Hellions. They don't get one. They're just starting to get outscaled all over again. And it's not that Hellions actually scale poorly, it's just the way that Sin actually set up for these objectives is superior in every way almost.
Yeah, Hellions falling behind in that regard as Sin doing a great job of controlling the pace from start to finish. Currently 6-0 in kills, yet to drop a death. So if they keep this up, this game could well and truly be the last one of the series, of course. Rymeister, you mentioned, he's got his 2 massive items right now. Anything more than that, just adding to that damage.
Man, is mega spiked.
Oh yeah.
Juve's also super tanky, even with the minimal items that he does in fact have. Of course, Merc Trade's being stacked across the board for Sin. Very handy for these mid-game fights. The tenacity is invaluable.
I like the Executioner's calling onto Raps to deal with Bomb.
To deal with Bomb, Impaired, and Ryu, honestly.
Yes,
even Luna to an extent with the Mantra W that gives health back. I think just hitting people here for Raps is, you know, something that Illusion wants to do. And I think in terms of timing in the game, above all else, Executioner's calling is pretty good.
Exactly right here. And of course, Bomb finally got himself that hourglass, so should he be caught out once again, is able to get himself back up to full health once that Golden Swain finishes off.
The other thing as well is the Bomb's gone for the teleport again, and
yeah,
he just does not use the teleport. Like, let's be honest, he just doesn't use it effectively. He's against the Ryze, probably wanted Exhaust or Ignite, might have had a better laning phase with that. But knowing that Rymeister had teleport, I guess he wanted to match the back timings and be equally as strong for laning phase. It's just that Rymeister will always 1-3-1. And Hellions' resolve now is to just match strategy.
Look onto Impaired. There goes the box to give them their escape, but it doesn't matter as Hecarim just ults through, but the flash on road keeping him safe. Now, they force Hellions off the tower. Should be looking to pick it up here.
Yeah, and it felt like Frey actually wanted to go on that one, but they couldn't get in, so push the turret down, easy take. Hellions wanted a fight, they don't find it. And now Sin can work from mid to top. They can place that vision down and try and force Hellions around the map.
Raps is rather low, so looking to recall before that. We see Rek'Sai going back, but that's the beauty of Rek'Sai. If you got a tunnel anywhere on the map, instant ultimate back to it. Where's she going to wind up? At the blue buff to help his mid laner secure that one away.
It's just silly, isn't it?
The beauty of Rek'Sai and why she's such a high priority pick right now.
She is a wonderful champion on Summoner's Rift. That is, without a doubt, a fact. And as Rymeister's recalling right now is an indication that they actually want to get Squiggle into this bottom side of the map. Remember that we called Rymeister a machine gun on this rise. Well, he's got Raps as well, who's got a fair bit of items. And if Sin want to look towards the Baron, it's something that is entirely doable by this roster, even at 23 minutes in the game.
Making their way up this mid lane now are Sin Gaming. Just taking a look. Done a great job of kill participation here. Both Raps, Rogue, and Ju sitting on 100%. So they've done a good job of fighting as a team. No one getting caught out of position just yet. Squiggle, maybe finally, either brave or stupid enough to stand up to Ryu at this stage. As
He's brave.
He's brave? Good man.
Not to say that, you know, they're actually one in the same enemy.
Sure.
Causation, correlation. There you go. He might be brave. Could also mean he's stupid.
Up in the top lane though, Sin looking to get this tower. They've done a considerable amount of chip damage to it, sitting on about a third of health left. Hellions might want to just concede this one at this stage,
yeah,
backing off.
And now the gold lead actually grows to about 6,000 from a situation where it feels like it should not be this big. But they just move around the map better. This is very macro heavy, and it's not 1-3-1 focus from Sin. They're just playing the map.
Sure.
Running Hellions around, and it's going to show that Hellions' biggest win condition, being their Aurelia, is not pushing as effectively because of the side lane control that, for the most part, Sin have always been working on, keeping the Aurelia down, running the rest of their four-man roster around.
And Squiggle makes his way down with enough AoE to clear out this wave before Ryu can do too much damage on the tower, if any. And once again, Sin just maintaining their map control, not giving them a single inch at all. Great wards as well. Not just yet, but throughout the series, rather. Hughes gets himself that red buff, so stealing away every little resource available to Hellions here.
Yeah, now Ryu does have to be careful.
Raps is there.
Exactly, because the Aurelia, the Lucian was nearby, and the Aurelia doesn't have a lot of, has no armor,
Yeah,
has a lot of damage. Only really MR in the back pocket. Big item spike actually for Raps right now, and now we've hit a point where Sin might actually be at that breaking point. And they can just outright look for team fights and force, instead of just being careful and caressing the enemy team around the map with their vision placements. Not only can they go from Drake to Baron, we've seen Sin contest red buff to blue buff to red buff again, and they are actually taking everything that Hellions could own that is in neutral ground.
And just choking them out of all resources right now. It's really up to Sin to when do they want to do the team fight that could potentially decide them the winning game. Dragon is spawned. They do want to get that. A few towers remain. One outer for Hellions, maybe get that Mountain Drake. Should give them an easier time taking away that. It also helps with the Baron.
Yeah, and they might also want to just translate this immediately to the bottom lane if they choose. Of course, that's the only inner turret even standing for Sin to take down. The easiest one. So by putting Squiggle down there again, not only is it Baron focus, but it helps them look towards that if he controls the waves well enough. And this is where the immediate focus now changes towards. They don't have to do it, but because they're strong, they've actually got a ridiculous amount of items on Rymeister. They can look towards forcing Hellions to face check, just saying what up, and killing them.
Sin really don't want to don't want to make any mistakes so far, so they're playing it very, very slow and calculated. They want to take what they can. and not overstay their welcome or overstep their boundaries. So ensuring to push the vision further and further out incrementally, as we see here, doing just that, forcing Impaired and Frey to get away. Giving them more warning should they attempt this Baron.
Bunch of bullies, Sin.
Yeah.
Rightly so. Of course, I'm pretty sure they want to win. Remember that Sin looking to bounce back. A pretty rough start to the season. They found a win last week. Now they're looking for 2 in a row. It's a perfect opportunity for them to cement this advantage they have in game number 2. Actually get themselves across the line. I think it all starts with a Baron fight.
That's exactly right here.
Hellions aren't taking the bait though.
No, Hellions.
So sooner or later, Sin will have to actually start it.
That's right. You can only call the bluff for so long. Hellions do have ways to check. Got 2 far side ords.
Start it.
1 on Frey, 1 on Bomb. Getting impatient here, Rusty. Just lingering.
Well, they're not actually moving towards it at all. They're just... Like, Rymeister not being visible means that they do the Baron quite slowly. But Sin are so desperately looking for picks, they haven't even considered trying it as an option.
Okay, just coming on in. Taking away the wards.
So that's the last blue trinket of 2 of them. Which means that they have bode their time well enough.
Come on.
But Raps is top at the moment. He's about to go through a ward.
He's pushed a big wave. They knew where he was, but looking at Juves and Rymeister, they really say they want to be starting this Baron, but that Lantern, it's timing out. Does he value the... he values the CS more.
I would too.
Hey, Baron has been started. Vision immediately thrown down from Impaired. Raps denies that one away. Lantern goes over. Gets the hook onto Impaired. Who is there to take it? It's Juves in the fight. Rymeister forced to flash over that one. Now Frey just gets melted. Impaired soon to follow. And just like that, Sin finally execute their plan. And Hellions, unfortunately, walk right into it.
Yeah, they play it slow, Sin. And sooner or later, something has to give. And it is Hellions' patience as they find themselves losing 2 big members. With Rise here, they take this down quickly. And Bomb needs nothing short of a miracle to pick this one up with a never move.
It'll be very, very difficult. Throwing the bird in, not going to matter though, as Juves Smite secures that one away. And we enter the Twilight Zone here as Squiggle taking it to Ryu.
Yeah, they're having a good time down here in this bottom lane. Squiggle, of course, has a lot of sustainers. Stack that armor, and guess who's here?
Oh, it's the Rek'Sai. Ryu has to flash out of that one. It is just in time, though, as Juves goes for the premature knock-up. Doesn't hit.
Yeah, Juves also had a flash of his own, but doesn't opt towards chasing any further. They do have the Baron buff now in this bottom lane if they wish to stay. Squiggle might actually value himself a quick recall in to have items, though. The Baron recall. Teleport into a fight. As Sin, whilst they have the buff, whilst they can probably team fight with what is a ridiculous lead of 10,000 gold with 30 minutes into this game, rather hang out and have a great time on Summoner's Rift and just, like, tea party it.
Rogue gets himself the blue buff, donated from Juves, and we see Rymeister is in the top lane on Rise, has the Baron buff, has a big wave of minions.
Yeah, he's a big deal. Ryu can't fight him even though he's threatening forward. The only reason that Rymeister backs off is knowing that there might be 2 or 3 there. And once Sin start pressuring this bottom side of the map, not only is this turret free to take, but they will draw the attention of more than 1 member of Hellions, which means that Rymeister on that top side can actually kill Ryu and threaten the inhibitor by himself.
Squiggle's finally caught up with the team here. The minion wave does fall quite quickly to the likes of Sivir, so we'll have to wait for the next wave before getting a little bit more chip damage on this. Ooh, Impaired. Playing with fire here, the hook does go a little bit to the left. Rymeister exerting dominance in this top lane.
Yeah, now Bomb's up here, so they're rotating, and it means that there's no health on Ryu, who can't help bottom.
Body slams out of that one. Rap takes a little bit of chunk. Tower getting hurt, though. The hook goes down to Impaired. Are they looking to kill him? Yes, they are. He's going to have to back out of that one. The tower goes down. But now the Onslaught of Shadows in. Rogue in the middle of the fight gets a nice double flay. The body slam is there onto Ryu. Can he escape? One more auto attack should do it. But Raps and Rogue are on the back line. Here comes Rymeister. He's teleported in. He's got a Guardian Angel, and he's got Frey in his side, so he takes him out. Now he's onto Bomb. He's running low on mana. A beautiful hook from Rogue. Bomb, he's he's in human form. Now the poor horse gets taken down. 5 members alive. Currently funneling into the base. Sin Gaming looking to take this 2-0, looking for a perfect game. Rymeister, he's still got that Guardian Angel available. Takes out Ryan.
Yeah, so this looks like it's going to be the game number 2 actually for Sin. Nobody dying. Very impressive.
Congratulations to Sin Gaming. A very slow but entertaining performance nonetheless. Ends game number 2 with a perfect score, 11-0. 13,000 gold as well.
Yeah, and this time around, Rymeister shows that he's back. They can go back to that tank in the top lane.
Oh yeah.
And Sin, they honestly just run Hellions around the map from minute 1 to the last minute of that game and execute a slow pace but very efficient style of League of Legends where there was no response on the opposite team.
It was looking very bad for Squiggle early on, but eventually he got there in the end and did his job. But that's enough for myself and Rusty, throwing it back to Spawn and the analysts.
Thanks so much, Orogi. Great cast of the night. And with that, it is going to be Sin Gaming picking up the 2-0 victory over Hellions eSports. And, you know, Hellions actually started that game pretty impressive. They had a decent lane swap. They were freezing nice deep waves for EU, and he was 2 levels up on Squiggle at one point in that game. But they're just not able to execute team fights for us.
He wasn't just 2 levels up. He was like something like 50 CS up on his opponent. It actually looked like disaster for Squiggle, but then they went into that Mountain Dragon team fight. And both teams kind of overextended, but when it all settled, it allowed Squiggle to kind of catch back up in CS, and that's where things started going terribly wrong for Hellions.
They tunneled on that dragon rather hard. They teleported back for it after people died. They got the dragon, but they lost so much for it.
Well, we were talking about in the green room, you know, this idea of it's just a mountain drake. Trade it and continue to build the CS lead on Aurelia and really start to splinter that power point that you don't necessarily need to fight it. You're doing a great job kind of bouncing your waves back and forth in between all of your carries, because what was happening is Hellions were winning that lane swap very hard. And they were actually running Sin around the map for very early. And Sin were constantly having to put their AD carry and their mid lane in the same lane, which means that you're not allocating farm to separate resources. You're just creating CS discrepancies across the board. Yeah,
and with that, I guess on the flip side, how you have to give credit to Sim, because finally, this wasn't a game where they had a clear-cut 1-3 run from go to woe. They weren't able to allocate lane assignments the way they did, but they do go back to team fighting. And, you know, even though it's just against a team like the Hellions, who are yet to pick up an OPL victory, the fact that they fell back on what was previously a crutch and then able to execute down the stretch is rather impressive.
Yeah, completely agree. And again, it started on that dragon, it snowballed from there. Good itemization. We said it backstage as well. As soon as Rai had that GA on Rise, we're like, this is done. There's no way that they can come back from this. And they just steamrolled through it.
I think it was the GGGA.
GGGA. Likewise, shout out to Rogue's Thresh. It's always a
pleasure?
Pleasure, that's the word. It's always enjoyable to watch him play the champion.
Yeah, it certainly is. And with that, it is going to be, I guess, Sin Gaming tying out the night. As we have a look at the week's results as so far earlier tonight, it was the Direwolves taking the 2-0 victory versus Tatum Mines. We just saw Sin Gaming take down the Hellions. Tomorrow night, of course, starting at 6 p.m., it is going to be Abyss eSports taking on Avant-Garde before the match of the week. It is going to be the OPL Legend match. Legacy taking on Chiefs. It is the OPL final rematch. They've done it a couple of times, and it's going to be so much fun to watch. But more importantly, maybe in some people's eyes, it's Rusty's birthday tomorrow. We're going to have a little bit of a party on broadcast, so make sure you tune in. However, guys, that is all the League of Legends actions we have for you tonight. So on behalf of myself, the Shoutcaster, the entire analyst desk, and the production crew, want to wish you a good night. We'll catch you tomorrow for Rusty's birthday.